welcome to Game Changers. First off, and most importantly, thank you all for being here. Your participation involvement is awesome. My name is Pete Ramsey. I'm the programs leader with the conductor, and part of our mission is to empower entrepreneurs to succeed in all that they do. We run several events, programs, talent development initiatives, consulting, all that good stuff. And one of those events is this one, Game Changers will start stories about local entrepreneurs. We bring in a successful entrepreneur from the state of Arkansas this week. For this month, it's Drew Spurgers. He's the owner of Kangabloo Creative and Shade Sunless Spas. That's kind of a tongue twister, at least when I was saying it in my mind over and over again. So Drew, thank you so much for being here. He's also recently named by the Commonwealth Chamber of Commerce the 2018 Young Business Leader of the Year. Woo, that's awesome. A few quick ground rules. The bathroom is directly behind me to my right, lost left. Food, drink, if you want to grab it, it's over here. Just feel free to get up or it's casual environment, so it's okay. Survey, at the end of this, there's going to be a survey we're going to send out. Your feedback is really important to us. It'll really help us tailor this event to what's best for you guys. There's everything from food, venue, there's criteria as a presenter, so you are being evaluated while you're up here. Other than that, run a show kind of real quick. He's going to present for about 10 minutes. Then we're going to open up to Q&A. And then we'll invite you to stay after for networking. And throughout the event, we encourage you to be social. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is you have, Snapchat, post something. We're on Facebook and Twitter. And then make sure you tag Drew and tag Kangabloo Creative as well. That'd be awesome. So, with that being said, one quick thing, I want to thank all of my team that makes this possible, and all the conductor team that makes this possible, and all of our sponsors that allow us to do this. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Drew, and let him get going. Woo!
All right. Hey, there we go. How's everybody? So my name's Drew. Happy to be here. Just a quick question: Who's a student who's here? Okay. So you got, and I see some CBC shirts. Everybody CBC? Anybody from UCA? A couple from UCA. Hey, there we go. Glad you're here. What's your name? Yeah. Lauren. Nice to meet you. All right. We'll dive right in here. He told me to present for 10 minutes. His talk is as fast as I talk. This will probably be 6 minutes instead. So if you guys have any questions or I need to slow down, just throw your hand up and I'll present real quick and then we'll go with questions from there. Sound good? Alrighty. So my name's Drew. I'm Kangabloo. A little bit about what Kangabloo is, who we are. There's a team of 9. So we started originally with just myself and one designer. When we started, we said we would never do web or video. Now our biggest two services are web and video, so it shows you that things change as you go in business. So our team of 9 includes myself, project manager, 2 video producers, one of which is Daniel in the back. Daniel's our lead video producer. Anything that you see online that we do, any videos you see on our Facebook page or anything like that, Daniel's the one behind all that. A graphic designer, digital strategist, just added a salesperson a couple weeks ago, and then 2 web developers. And so that team, we all work together ideally to manage multiple promotions for one client. So the idea is not that someone comes in and uses us to do one thing, but that we're able to work with them on their promotional strategy and actually serve as their marketing department. And so how that looks is for some clients, we are their marketing department. Either maybe they're a business that can't afford to have a full-time in-house person, or maybe they do have a full-time in-house person in their team, and then we supplement that team. So we have relationships with all kinds of clients where we just come in and help out, or we're actually managing that and leading the charge for them. So things that we do, brand development, strategy, graphic design, web design, video production, motion graphics, animation, promotional items, print ads, or digital ads, social media management, and more. So as an example, the shirt that he's wearing back here in the back, this black t-shirt, we printed that this week, and then plenty of other stuff that you see around here. So we do all that kind of jazz. All right? So how things work here, how we got to this point. So the company was actually started in 2011. We actually started with a different name, with a different purpose, and then kind of figured out what we wanted to do, what we were going to be good at, abandoned that name, refined our purpose, and kind of grew from there. So we started in 2011. In 2014, this became my full-time gig. At that time, I was selling promotional products for a different company and then kind of doing consulting for Kangabloo on the side. We put it all in one. So the company that I worked for was gracious enough to let me step out and do everything on my own. And then we did that in March and thought that we were just going to work out of our homes. It was going to be great. We'd be in coffee shops and it would be startup life and everything would be awesome. And we found out very quickly that we had to have a home and an office. And so in June we opened our first office, which is at Dave Wharton's behind Tio's Mexican Restaurant. Expanded the office because we were over in 2015, and then that's when Daniel joined our team as well to start working with video. And then we've been kind of rocking and growing from there between 2015 and 2017, and then actually added a video studio last year. So if you were looking at the shopping center that we're in, it looks partially empty, and that's because we occupy 3 suites and only have a sign on top of one of them. So, and then where we are today. So business, especially startup, is very much so a journey. And you have this plan of where you're going to start and then where you think you're going to finish. And usually the path between the two looks absolutely nothing like you expect. More often than not, your end destination changes. It's like getting on a plane, thinking you're going to Florida and ending up in Ecuador or something like that. Just a totally different experience, but an enjoyable one nonetheless. So I'll talk a little bit about some things that we had difficulties with or had relative success with, but I'm going to move on to kind of touch on that. So one of the things that the conductor asks us to mention is the key to success, or like what has made you successful. The first thing I'll say is that as a small business owner, you basically never feel successful. It's a series of like peaks and valleys, and you never feel like, yeah, we've got this all figured out, we're just rocking it. Like there are times that you feel like, yeah, we've been like this has worked well for us, but you always feel like you get in this habit of just seeing the problems, or seeing what needs to be corrected, or seeing the opportunities for growth. And so it's very different in a situation from being able to just go to work and do a job, because it really becomes your life, and you have to worry about for a situation, for my situation between our companies, I have 25 people that count on me to make a living, and if I screw up, that doesn't just affect me, that doesn't just affect my household, that affects everyone who works for us. And so it's a little bit different weight that you carry. But there are some things that I've found out that really contribute to success. The first thing that I would really say is hire well and trust people to do their jobs. I am not a micromanager at all. I have been micromanaged, and I firmly believe that squashes people's ability to be able to do their jobs. It's much better to hire intelligently, hire someone who has a good skill set, and let them do that. A perfect example of this, because Daniel's here, I'll talk about it. Daniel runs this department. I have essentially nothing to do with it other than billing it. And so for that reason, you hire someone who can do their job, and you let them do it well, and that's more successful for everyone. The next part of that is communicate clearly and confront quickly. This is a big deal for me. I try to make sure with all of our teams at either business that I'm very clear with what my expectation is. And so we'll sit down and have a conversation of, hey, this is what I'm looking for from you, please make this happen, and then I'm hands off and letting you take it unless you need help. Now, if you need help, I'm here. I'm not telling you, don't ask me about it, don't talk to me about it, I'm going to help you, but set the expectation, let people do that. And then confront quickly. I am very direct, sometimes to my detriment, and sometimes to scare someone else. Hi, Stephen. But I think that a big part of being a leader and being successful in business is confronting quickly. And what that means is in any type of relationship that whether it's an employer relationship, whether it's an employee-client relationship, any type of relationship that you see some kind of tension or something like that in, the best option is to just confront it quickly and talk about it. It doesn't have to be a big blow-up discussion, it just has to be a, hey, this doesn't feel quite right, let's figure out why this isn't working and go from there. Make sense? So work hard but keep margin. This is something I struggled with at first. Our culture glorifies busy and glorifies having too much to do and having so much going on and blah, 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 all of that. And one of the things that I learned about 2 years in, I'd gone through a season where I was working about 80 hours a week. And that was, I was in the office at least 6 days a week, most days for 15 hours. And I realized that 1, I was exhausted. 2, I didn't really like what I was doing all that much. And 3, I really missed my home life. And so at that point, I learned that one of the things that I had to do to be an effective owner and manager was to make sure that I kept some kind of margin in my life. And so I try to spend at least 2 weeks a year out of the office. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes it does. And then I just make sure that, there are times when I say like, okay, what had to get done today is done. There's still plenty more to do, but it will be here tomorrow. And go home and relax and read and travel and cook and do things that replenish you. So if any of you guys are interested in going into business for yourself, being an entrepreneur, one of the biggest things that I would tell you is absolutely make sure that you do something to keep margin. Don't let culture's glorification of busy tell you that you always have to be working, because you'll fry yourself and you're no good if you're burnt out. The last thing is relationships make it all work, internally and externally. I could not do anything that we do at either company without the strong team that we have, and without people that I like working with, and people that do their jobs well. For that reason, our internal relationships are a big part of what makes us work. We have to be able to talk to each other. We have to be able to take care of conflict, whether it's conflict where we don't agree on something or there's something external that we can work together to fix. And the next thing relationships make this all work is external, outside of the company. Being networked in your community, doing things like this makes a huge difference. Our business has been built almost exclusively from relationships that we have. We've not done huge marketing campaigns to build Kangabloo. It's all been about creating relationships with local business owners and local organizations and making sure we cultivate those relationships. Organizations like the Conductor, like the Chamber, things that happen here really give us an opportunity to meet other business owners, to meet people that we can help, and to kind of grow our networks from there. So those are the big things to me that have been really, really big keys for success. As far as where we're going, we've definitely found our own. So we're 7 years in now. Really, it feels like a good 4 or 5 years in now. We really figured out who we are and what we do well. So there was a season, I think at the end of 2015, where we fired about the top 20% of our clients, which is a scary thing to do, to say, like, we're going to pick our people that spend the most money and let them go. And that's what we did, because we were working all the time and not necessarily enjoying what we did. We weren't happy with the work that was going out. We didn't feel like the relationships were as happy as they should have been. We're all very in tune to making sure that it feels fun and light and that we're enjoying working together, and we were not feeling that way at that time. And so we said, okay, we're going to let go of the top 20% of our clients and work for these people that we like working with in the middle. And what's happened since then is when we let go those that were bleeding us dry or draining us, and then picked up some or focused more on those middle, we've grown with those middle clients. So a great example of that is my catfish. Travis has given a talk like this before, I think, as Nikki did. Yeah, so Travis has done one of these before. The rest of our team is not here today because they're at his opening of his 4th store. And so when we started with them, they just opened store 2, and in that time we've grown to 4 stores and really established a brand and been able to build it, which is a really good example of what we want to do as a company, and just shows that when you put your heart and your focus in the right place, it goes where you want it to. So we know we're good at what we like and ditch the rest. We're definitely growing video right now. Daniel's doing a great job there. Daniel and Cody. Cody's our other video producer who just walked in. He's back there in the corner. So those guys are doing a great job, and that's growing quickly for us. And then also promotional items. We try really hard to not do all of like the typical, cheap, chintzy, you can get it anywhere kind of stuff. We put a lot more thought and craft into the promotional items that we do. And so a lot of the stuff that we do is more bespoke, where instead of looking like you pick something out of a catalog and we stuck your logo on it, it looks like we actually designed something custom for you. And that doesn't always mean that you have to buy 5,000 or something or anything like that. We just did a really cool piece for the Chamber that you guys will get to see probably in the next few weeks that is like a totally custom bag with an interior liner that looks like, it looks like they bought, thousands of these things and spent a ton of money on it, and really it was very reasonable. So, do more brand work. Our graphic designer is a rock star. We went to school at UCA, and he's just really, really good at what he does. And so we've got to do a lot of branding in the last couple of years. One of the things that we're going to ask you guys to do at the end is to like us on social media, keep up with us. If you go and look at our Facebook page, you'll see a video that's me talking about our creative review. And if you click the Learn More button, you can look at like a 40 something page document of like some of our favorite projects from last year. And that shows some really good brand development and things like that. It's a little magazine you can flip through and see all that. So if you guys have an interest in seeing what we do, that would be a really good way to do it. And then telling the story of what we do better. It's really funny when you are a creative agency and you help people market and you don't market for yourselves much, because we haven't really had the time to do a lot of marketing for ourselves because we spend so much time working for our clients. And so one of our big goals right now is to make sure that we tell the story of what we're doing better and that we actually are showing you guys what we can do. So as far as it asked me to mention financials, so far, and I haven't told Daniel this yet. I looked last night, and as of right now, we're 51% up year to date over last year. So that means we've done half as much business additionally than we did last year. So yeah, that's exciting. And then looking at that, last year we were up about 10%. So usually by the time you get to 3-4 years in, things start to kind of level out, and you figure out what your numbers are going to be and where they stay. But then, if you have the right people in place doing the right things, and you see this kind of grow 5-6 years in. So I think that's it from me, basically. Yeah. Questions? And I think.
Yeah, well,
great. Questions? What questions do you guys have? Yes, sir?
What was the biggest obstacle you had to overcome to just start?
Okay, just starting. The biggest obstacle, I'm going to answer 2 questions. That one and the one you didn't ask me that I thought you were going to ask me. The biggest obstacle right at the beginning was definitely that I took no financing, I took no loans from anybody or anything like that. I just did it all out of my pocket. And so when we started, we had to build lean and very intentionally did that to where we didn't go like, deep into debt or anything like that. So at the very beginning, funding was a problem. I actually, when I went out on my own and started, and really beefed up Kangabloo, I was worried about it, so I went to a local bank and opened a line of credit for $5,000, so I had something to pull on if I needed it. Fortunately, we never got to use it, which was kind of cool. But that was the biggest thing right at first. And then the next thing that I will say, the next biggest challenge that we had was definitely around personnel. And it wasn't having the wrong people, it was either not having the right people in the right place at the right time, or losing someone who was really great at the wrong time. So that was really hard as far as, I had no desire to build a business that was about me or my name or anything like that. So I didn't want people to feel like I was the only in to the company. And so as we did that with some other people and our customers got used to them, and then those people moved on, either got married, moved away, went back to school, whatever, that was really tough because they lost relationships that they really liked, that the rest of us didn't have a good relationship with. And then the other side of that was I didn't realize as the owner how much of their jobs I was going to have to pick up and do in the meantime while trying to hire and train someone to do their job. And so 16 was like super, super rough because we lost 2 really good people at the end of 15 and the beginning of 16. And I thought, no big deal, we'll hire and replace. Well, we hired, and the person that we hired didn't really like that specific job, and so we basically just like wasted 9 months and I did basically nothing, and that kind of stinks, except I was working all the time, but felt like I wasn't accomplishing anything. So that was definitely a big lesson to learn, to make sure that you always have like a fallback plan of what you do in case somebody leaves or something like that. Does that answer your question? Okay. Yes, sir.
Follow up on the financing. Do you wish you had done a different style of financing at the beginning?
Nope. If I could advise somebody to do it the same way, I would tell them to do exactly what we did. We were totally debt-free until like 3 or 4 years in, and then we took out some debt to grow that I wish we hadn't, that we had to, and it's just fine. I just don't like working with money. And that's it. So, I mean, it's not, it's not like something that, it wasn't the wrong decision, and we had to do it that way, and everyone who I trust for financial advice said the same thing. It's just, I go with money. It was nice to, when we started, it was nice to wake up and know that, like, all right, this all goes belly up tomorrow, I'm only responsible for payroll. And that's it. Now, this goes belly up tomorrow, so it doesn't, but this goes belly up tomorrow, I'm going to look for a whole bunch of money. Make sense? The other side of that coin is there are certain things, I worked in a field where we were working mostly with intangibles. I wasn't selling, I didn't have to build 10,000 widgets to stock in a warehouse to sell. And so that you have to finance on the front end. I just happened to do something that was more intellectual property where I just had to pay my people for their work as we went. And so that made things a little bit different. Any other questions? Yeah. Our question was, what were the growth points where you knew you needed to add to the team? That's an interesting question because up until a certain point, it's really interesting because I still, with Kangabloo, am nervous about adding to the team. Anytime we do, we work hard to make sure that someone's the right fit, and then I work hard to make sure that's the right thing to do with our money. Because especially when you have a small business that, it's a small business that I own 100% of. There's no financing partner, there's no one back there to help make all that work or anything like that. And so every dollar that I choose to invest in the company is a dollar that doesn't go home to me. And so that's a tough thing of saying, like, okay, what do we do with this? And it's the decision to pay your employees more than you make, and to do that for a season to make sure that you're doing things the right way. And so I would say when we usually realize that it's time to add someone is when we realize that we're either getting like over capacity and things are suffering as they go out, or when we know, like for example, we just added someone in sales a few weeks ago, and the question was, do we have to have someone right now, or can we continue to invest with the team that we have? And what the ultimate conclusion we came to is we could probably continue this with the team that we have for now, but are we going to miss out on potential business by not adding someone right now? Because my biggest problem is, running 2 companies and all of that, things just get stuck on my desk. And the answer is like, yeah, it'll take me 10 minutes, just send it to me and I'll take care of it. But when a water heater explodes at a salon, or whatever happens, or an employee's car won't start and I have to leave the office to go jump their car for them, like that kind of thing. These are all just parts of life that happen, and they take that 10 minutes away over and over and over and over and over. And there was a season last year where we didn't grow because I could not keep up with the quota. I could not get it done. And so that was a really big roundabout answer to your question. But really, I think when you know that it's time to add is when either you can't do it without someone or you're going to miss a chance and not do it with someone. So this most recent hire that we made is a bit of a risk. We're making a financial investment in a new person on the team who's got to come in and learn and produce and figure it out. But the risk is saying like, okay, we think because of all these things that are happening, we need another person to steward this way. Does that answer your question? What else? Vicky?
You said you started as a different focus and then along the way figured out what you do best and what you're going to do differently.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit more about that shift and how you
Yeah.
identified what
So,
you were doing?
the original company was actually, the original company had nothing to do with marketing at all. The original company was a grocery delivery service, and this was before anybody was doing grocery delivery. And we set it up to where you could go online and enter in your grocery list, and we'd go do your shopping for you and deliver it to you. What I found out is I hate the grocery store, and I don't want to do that. And the next thing I found out was that people don't want to do that for the amount of money that we were paying them to do that. And so we had like these series of obstacles, and the customers were delighted that the employees weren't. And so we just said, yeah, we're just going to put that on hold. And I was already doing marketing consulting at this time, so we said, well, let's just rename the company and do that. And so that's what we did. And then when we started out, we did a lot of web at first, but it just wasn't to our clients were happy, but it wasn't to like the caliber that I necessarily wanted it to be. And then, of course, we didn't have our focus on video or anything like that. And so, as things have grown and changed, one of the metrics that we've used to figure out what we need to be doing is what there's a demand for, what are people asking us for, and then what are we able to really delight with. So what are we able to make sure that we're really wowing the customer with? Again, video is a great example of this. We've not yet had a video project that we've sent to the customer and they've been like, yeah, this isn't what I wanted. People are always happy. It's like, okay, great, that's our starting point. And so what we found in the last probably 6 months or so is that if we bring someone in for video and that's where they start with us, that once we finish that project, we say, hey, we enjoy working with you on this, we're so glad you were thrilled with it, here's what else we do, and we lay it out there. And so we have a client that we brought on late last year or early this year that a year ago we would have led with a pitch of like, here's everything we can do for you, but we didn't. We let them ask for what they wanted. And then we were talking about, okay, there's lots of opportunity here, there's lots we can do for this person. So do we need to schedule that meeting and sit down and say like, hey, you can pay us this much monthly and we'll manage this for you. And I said, let's wait and get through 2 more projects, 2 big projects we have open, and we'll see what happens. And before we finished those 2 projects, the client approached us and said, can I pay you to do all this monthly? Totally different sales pitch. We didn't have to say like, we think you should do this. She said, will you do this? And we had to say, yes, we will. And so it just made it a lot easier and it just feels a lot more natural. Does that help? Answer your question? Good. What else? Any other questions? Yes, ma'am?
I actually work with Jesse Bill in online relations.
Yeah, I like Jesse.
I'm their designer.
You're what?
I'm
You're
their
hired?
graphic designer.
Oh, okay, great. So we emailed before.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, good.
I have 2 questions.
Okay.
I want to know about your name, like what it means and where it's from. And I also saw that they mentioned something about spa.
Yeah.
And I want to know how that is involved in everything.
Okay, yeah, so the name Kangabloo came out of a bottle of tequila. What actually happened was I knew that we wanted a color and an object for the brand because I knew with selling promotional items and things like that I wanted something easily identifiable and something else that nobody else had. I feel like a lot of companies that do what we do have really vague names, sort of just like kind of pulled out of nowhere or whatever, and I wanted something that was visual as what we do that was easily visually identified. And so our creative lead at the time, when I sat on my back porch one night and drank an entire bottle of Cabo Wabo and made a big long 2-page list of all these different options, and one of them was Blue Kangaroo. And, at that point, Blue Kangaroo became Kangabloo, and there we go. So that was where Kangabloo came from. And then, so I also, my husband and I actually own 3 tanning salons as well. And so we bought the first one 5 years ago yesterday, actually, in Conway, and then said, the same way that we said we would never do video and web at Kangabloo, when we bought the salons, we said we would never do spray tans, and now I get to travel around the country teaching people how to spray tan, because a vendor of the salons and a client of Kangabloo needed someone to do that, and so I get to do that now. So it's another one of those times like business just takes a different course than you expect. So we bought that store 5 years ago. About 3 months in, realized we got to do spray tans. This is where the industry's going. So we started doing that, and then it just really worked really well. And we had people driving from like Jacksonville and Arkadelphia to use our salon in Conway, which is ridiculous. And so we said, well, we need to open one in Little Rock. So we opened one in Little Rock in December 15. And then when we opened, we weren't able to open where we wanted to in Little Rock. We had to go to West Little Rock, and West Little Rock is middle-aged money, but our demographic is us. Not to say that that's not a demographic for us, because it is. Our primary demographic is 20 to 30 something young professionals with low disposable income. Well, they're not in West Little Rock. And so all of those people that had memberships and things like that, we realized they weren't keeping their memberships as long, or they weren't coming in as much as we wanted them to, or anything like that. And so what we realized is, okay, we've got to go where these people are. And so we actually announced yesterday that we're about to open a location in Hillcrest, because that demographic is at Heights and Hillcrest. So, to answer that question, yeah. So the salons are, that was a great management experience for me, of like figuring out how to build a team that can run a business without me having to run it. And so when we first bought the salons, Kevin and I were in the stores every single day. We closed almost every night. We were very involved with it. We were there all the time. Now, if I'm working a shift at the tanning salon, somebody's sick, it's very rare that that happens. But what we did was intentionally build a really great team there that was able to run that without us. So that's how that works. It happens to be that the first salon is 3 doors down from Kangabloo, so that's convenient that they're close if they need us. But today's Wednesday, and I think I've been in the salon for a grand total of maybe 10 minutes this week. So we don't just spend a lot of time in it. I work on it a lot, but I don't work in it much. Make sense? What else? Yes, ma'am.
There was value in going ahead and starting your business and then morphing into something else, or you wish you had waited and just...
I absolutely think there was value in learning experience, which is an interesting point that I'll also mention. When I got out of college, or when I was in college, I felt like I was wasting my time, and I didn't really want to do it because I felt like, oh, I'm already doing this, I'm already doing this job, I don't need this degree, blah, blah, blah. And I was young and naive and didn't have much of a value for education. And going through that, I did it because I was on paid scholarship money, and then once I finished, I saw this whole new value for it that I didn't see while I was in it. And that has been the same thing with business. Is you go through a season and it's tough, or it feels like a waste of time, or not what you want. You know the other side of it in hindsight's 2020, and you're like, wow, I'm so glad I did that. And so when I finished my undergraduate degree, I'm like, I'm done. I never went back to school. I didn't even need this one. I just wanted a piece of paper. Well, I went back and got my master's a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, because one of the relationships that I had here at UCA, Dr. Hargis, who's a great educator who I really admire, pushed me to come back and get my MBA. And my thought is, I'm already doing this, and I don't have the time to add a degree on top of this. But I decided to went back and did it at night and online and learned a lot more from the master's degree than from my undergraduate degree. And it's just been really great to see, my experience in the master's was either I can teach this or I would have never learned this, which was really awesome. It was a great thing to see, yeah, this is what I do. And I even had some professors come to me and be like, hey, you're more qualified to be teaching marketing right now than I am because I'm in academia and you live in it. But then I had other situations where people are teaching me about finance or the legal environment of business and things that I don't know about that really benefit me in my business. And so a master's degree cost me a chunk of change, but it's definitely added that much value to our business. And then also, I saw somebody give a talk, I thought it was the conductor, about, Lori Melton gave a talk at UCA yesterday about personal branding. And that was a big deal. I'm still young. And there are times that we sit down with people and they're like, what do you know about this? And I'm like, well, I've been doing this for a long time and I've got a few letters to go behind my name to back that up. So it was a big credibility thing there. And then as far as the change of course in business with both Kangabloo and with Sunless, I think part of that is you have an idea of where things are and what you want to do, but the market changes constantly. And we say that, Facebook wasn't a thing 15 years ago. Now Facebook is where almost all marketing happens. All of that changes and shifts, and if you don't change and shift with it, your business can just go away. And you see that happen with a lot of older businesses that aren't willing to, kind of get up with the times or anything like that. So, yes, I certainly appreciate the mistakes made and the changes, of course, that I didn't necessarily expect because they led to where we are right now. And the truth of it is there aren't many people my age that are at this place in life. And no, I'm not wealthy or anything like that, but I get to go to work every day and decide what I do and lead a team of people that I really like and have the flexibility to say, I'm not going to go to the office today. I'm going to work from home, or I'm going to go to Seattle for a week, or whatever. That's really nice. That affords a different kind of freedom that you don't usually get in a 9-to-5 job. Does that help answer that question? Anything else?
I have one. Sorry. Hold on, I wrote it down. I can't ever remember. So it's kind of about the hiring process, and so you're talking about how important it is, and a lot of times it can be really nerve-wracking. So what have you learned throughout, is there a way, or is there a process, throughout the hiring process that you find people that are the right fit? How do you go about that? Because some people, they're I'm certain process. Some people they give tests, some people trust their gut or whatever.
So, great question. HR is my favorite part of my job, probably. I really enjoy that part because I'm a leader and a manager before I'm a marketer. My company happens to be a marketing company, but I'm a leader and a manager before that. You could take me out of this and put me in a different industry and ask me to do the same thing, and I would love it. I would enjoy it. I think probably pretty much anything. Hiring for Kangabloo and the salons is very different. We're looking for two different types of jobs, two different types of people, but some of the principles stay the same. And so I'll talk about two things for that. For Kangabloo, what we found works really well, we did this with our next to last hire. I usually either hire directly from my network without having to do like the whole formal interview process. If I know someone, Daniel was that way, Cody was through our network, if we know someone who wants to do something that we have a relationship with, and we think it'll work well, we sit down and have a talk with them. And when I talked earlier about confronting quickly, that conversation looks like, hey, we have a personal relationship and we're talking about you coming to work and me being your boss. And so what we have to realize is that those are two separate relationships and that we have to be able to work together, and if we can, we've got to sit down and talk about that. And then the expectation of here's what I expect you to do, here's what it looks like. And an advisor might be telling me, nope, even Cameron, one of them says this, I think it's Cameron. Cameron owns a business similar to ours in Northwest Arkansas. He says anything is permissible as long as the expectation is set. Make sense? So you can get away with anything as long as the expectation is set. If we agree that I'm going to drive your car, I may wreck it, and you say that's okay, but if I wreck your car, I have permission. Makes sense? And so anything is permissible as long as the expectation is set. So we have those discussions when we hire through our network that way. The other way is we hired, he's actually a UCA student finishing up his degree last fall, and we posted that position externally and asked people to write a cover letter and resume and apply. We had 40-something applications, is that right? 40 or 50-something applications? A lot. We threw out 10 immediately because they didn't write a cover letter, and we said write a cover letter, and they didn't, so they're out. And then we went through and looked at all of those, and the ones that didn't write well, we threw out immediately. Why? Because they didn't care enough about the presentation to me for me to think they're going to care about the presentations to my clients. And so we picked our top 10 or 12, and 3 of us separately, who I consider like my leadership team, Daniel and Meredith, our project manager, we printed them out separately, compared them all together, and ranked them in order without knowing them, just looking on them on paper, from our favorite to our least favorite. We came back together, we all had the same top 6. And so, great, okay, those are the 6 that we interviewed. And then we scheduled interviews with them and scheduled working interviews for them as well. And so we had them come in and talk with us and ask them typical questions. What do you want to be when we grow up? And all those kind of things. But then we also gave them a prompt for something real that was happening with our clients at that time and said, show us how you would handle this. And when they came in for their interview, we did the interview and then they made a presentation for us. And so something that was very interesting for us is if we'd just done the interview, we would have made a different hire than the one that we did with the presentation. But seeing not only who they were, how we thought they would mesh with our team, but also the work that they did really changed things for us. And so that was something that we'll do again. Like when we hire through that process again, we'll absolutely do a working interview. Because at the end of it, 3 of us sat down and we're like, yeah, we were thrilled with this. This was awesome. And it was a good hire. For the salons, so the educators will love me for this because I know you guys say this all the time, but it is so true. For the salons, our application is an open response application. You give me your name, your date of birth, all that crap. But then we have paragraph responses that you write. And at the top of the application it says, please write in full sentences or your assignment will not be graded. What does that mean? When people just don't put effort into it or a crappy application, they don't follow directions, and they didn't care enough about the application to think they're going to do on the job. We throw them out while they don't come in. And so for every teacher that ever told you that how you write that it matters, it really does. Because if you can't write well, you can't communicate well. So put time and effort into that is what I would say. And then for the salon, we hire for personality a lot. So we said we're selling sunshine, and so we asked them these questions in their application. They submit this open response application. It emails to our management team, and if we all like them, we say, yep, we're going to schedule an interview. We interview them, and then we hire one for Kangabloo with a 90-day probationary period, for salons with a 30-day probationary period. And that means we've got 30 days, and if it didn't work out, we're parting ways. And we don't have to very often. It doesn't happen super often. Usually, the interview process is pretty true to us. But that's what we do there. Do you want an opportunity to talk to that? You're an educator, I think. Do you want to say anything like, I told you so?
Writing is very important. The resume, correct objective, correct use of tense, time, so reverse chronological order. You got to put in the effort. You have to get it proofread by someone. You got to series that shows you the applicant whether they're dedicated to your business or not.
Yep, they're the people that I will say this. There are people. When we looked at that digital strategist job and we hired for that, we had some people that had really good resumes and good experience, even doing like the job we were asking them for with our cover letters and full typos. We didn't even interview them. They had the experience, but our business is presenting your business well, and if you don't present yourself well enough, how am I supposed to think that you're going to do that for my clients? And so, very, very, very important. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
When you started your marketing agency, with the market already being quite saturated, how did you find that niche to really?
Yeah, good question. So when we started, the market really wasn't super saturated because there were a lot of big agencies like CJRW, Eric Harmonic, those guys. There were a lot of big agencies, but when we started, we focused more on small business, and there weren't many people that wanted to help small businesses with marketing. At the time, at Common, we were the only one. There are like 3 or 4 now, probably, Vicky, but we don't really compete a lot. Like there's 3 or 4 times a year that we compete with each other on things, but more often than not, one of us is a more natural fit for the client, and like we often will just choose not to bid, or just choose not to pursue that really. The market wasn't really saturated at the time, so we were also meeting an unmet need. In that, one of the reasons we started the business was I noticed as a small business owner, working with small business owners, that you had to have a sign guy, a t-shirt guy, a web guy, a blah, 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 like all these different people. And I said, what if you just have one person to deal with? What if you could just have one channel to do that all? And that's what we did. And so that was a big success point for us early on. And we had people that had year-long relationships with other people that would pick us up years-long relationships with other people that would come to us and let us start working for them, and then slowly move that business to us, so it was all in one place. Does that answer your question? Good questions, guys. What else? What class is this at CBC? I'm curious. Advertisement promotions? Awesome. Okay.
I got a question. So us on the outside looking in, we see the fruits of being a business owner, but we don't see about the what is. So what do you do to kind of protect yourself from the what is and the risk of being a business owner?
Yeah. His question, he said from the outside you see what's happening, the fruits of being a business owner, but you don't see like the what ifs or anything like that. Yeah, it's tough, and it doesn't necessarily get easier. Like, I still consider myself young. I'm fortunate to have a lot of experience and to have a little bit of a knack for business, but there's still plenty to learn. And I feel that way now just as much as I did 10 years ago, and I hope I always feel the same way. How do you protect yourself from the risks? Financially, you set yourself up as much as you can to have your liability limited. So, both companies are LLCs that are separate from us personally. So that's the first financial setup you make. The second thing is make sure that you've got money in the bank. So if something goes wrong, you're okay, or can figure it out. And then the next thing, my biggest concern, and this might not be this way for every manager, but my biggest concern is not how am I going to make it if things go belly up, because I can always go work for somebody, My resume is impressive at this point. I could go take a job somewhere and make good money and figure out the financial stuff. My biggest concern is if I get hit by a train tomorrow, what happens to my people? And so we're insured very well for that, where if I die tomorrow, my husband gets a bunch of money and throws Daniel the keys and says, figure it out. So making sure that everybody's taken care of and there's money there to make sure that it all works is a big deal. So insuring well. And then kind of the personal benefit thing is really the bigger deal to me. Or not the personal benefit, but like the personal care side of it. There are times that it's really hard, and there are times that you wake up at 3 in the morning stressed and you have trouble going back to sleep. And I'm not really a stressor, so like if that happens to me, imagine how much worse that would be for someone who just naturally stresses a lot. And so the big things there are making sure that you have a support system personally that will help you with things like that will let you be a sounding board, let you talk to them, let you just process it out, and then also having advisors that you really trust. And so I have 3 or 4 people that are in business that I respect that are different ages, different industries, things like that I can call and just say, here's what I'm dealing with. Patty Stovall that owns Patty Cakes and Stovies is a really good example of that. She started as a client, has been really supportive of my business from day one, has become a good friend. She's brilliant and she knows business well. And last fall, I was in a period that was really stressful in business. I was stressed about money, and that's kind of part of being a business owner at times. And I remember sitting down with her at a coffee shop and crying because I was so stressed about it. And she looked at me from across the table and said, like, I wish I could make this better for you. I can't. This isn't going to do much right now, but trust me when I tell you, you will get through this, and it's going to be okay. And the next thing that she said was, if I were you, the way that I would handle this is I would go in my head to the worst that this can be. Let yourself go there and figure out how you deal with it. So you run out of money. You go bankrupt. You rebuild. People do it all the time. Our president's done it multiple times. Like, that was what she said. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Because like, I'm someone who's never overdrafted a checking account. Like, the idea of that is just like so foreign to me. And so she said that, and that was in October, and probably by like December or January, I was like, okay, yeah, we're gonna be okay, we got this. And then like came into this beautiful season of like, you know, big projects and money and things like that. And so being able to have someone to talk to is really a big deal. And that was another time when I really realized that it was very necessary to keep margin. Because, you know, when I get stressed about things, my tendency tends to be to just work more and to try to create, you know, try to shepherd everything and like follow up on things and keep things through and keep them all flowing. And like, yeah, that's necessary, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna be a heck of a lot less stressed if I go to bed at 10 o'clock than if I go to bed at 2 o'clock. Sleep is important. Add that to the key to success. Sleep is important. Anything else? So her question was, how long did it take from the shift to marketing for the business to be profitable, essentially, to be successful? Pretty quickly, because we started lean. So any money that came in was money we had, and we weren't over leveraged, and we weren't having to figure out how to make things work with paying our bills or anything like that. And so when I talk about like the success being in the network, we were well networked enough that as soon as we said, here we are, here's what we do, people started coming. It just started happening. And then the first big, like really big influx that we saw was when we opened our office. We didn't realize that people really cared if we had a physical building or not. And so when we opened our office and had a physical location, some people came out of the woodwork. Like, we don't know these people, but they've been referred by, and now that we have a physical location, they can drive by and see us and make a difference. And so it was profitable for that. And I mean, to be totally transparent without like throwing out all the financial information or anything like that, I still make far less than someone with a master's degree should, but I love my job and I love what I do, and I understand that this is a period of time where it doesn't matter how much money I make, really. As long as we can make it, that's fine. And then we put all this investment into building the company and building things as they're growing, and like once we do that and there's debt and all that, we're all going to make more money, you know. And so it's the whole entrepreneurship game is certainly a series of sacrifices, financial, personal, all of that, to make sure that you make it work. But it's all, for chasing the quote-unquote American dream by the end of the time. We chose, that's something that I just thought of. Someone asked earlier, how do you protect yourself in business? Kevin and I made the decision years ago to invest in retirement before we invested in lifestyle. And so we said before we, live in a $500,000 house, and none of this stuff is things that we need, but before we made those big things, we would invest in retirement first. And so there have been times where there might not be a lot of money in our checking account, but we're still maxing out our retirement accounts, and we started doing that at 23, young enough that we'll be pretty by the time 50 comes. And Jeff is kind of like a great example for me, like what I want him to do. Jeff, that started the conductor, retired at 50 to go do what he wanted to do, and now he's getting to chase passion projects. And probably has like 6 jobs now or whatever, and works harder than he did then. Yeah, but to be able to do that, to be able to create financial freedom for yourself, and to be able to, have the ability to just do whatever you want, that's what I really want. Because the idea of having to go sit at a desk from 8 to 5 every day and do what someone else told me to, that's exhausting. I don't want to do that. Does that help? I answered another question that someone didn't ask me to. Anything worth mentioning that I'm forgetting, do you think?
No, just to add on, I think the thing Drew does best, and the reason his business is taking so many turns, he's talked about it a lot, but just to affirm, Drew's best quality, 2 great qualities. One, Drew doesn't overthink it, like he strategizes when he's starting something new, but he won't overthink it to the point of talking himself out of it. He's really good at kind of forging ahead and understanding the big things that he needs to have in order, and then understanding that other things will fall into place with the right people on his team and with the right foundation. The second thing he does, I think, is probably the best thing he does, is he really, the reason his business has taken so many turns is because he's just built it around people. So when he comes into contact with someone and he sees, wow, this person does really well with this, they do really well with that. He didn't ever want to do video, but he would contract me. We worked together for a couple of years, and I ended up approaching him and saying, hey, I'm not going to be working at the place that I have been for the past couple of years. Are you interested? He didn't really have a need to do that, but he took that investment, saw something in me, and decided to go take out a loan, build the investment, and build something in the company that he had never really planned to do. And it took a while, but that's starting to pay off now. Well, when all of those other things that he said he would never do, the reason those things are growing and prospering is because he's taking a risk bringing people on to his team that can own that and can run with that. And that's something he's incredibly good at. Really, like the people, his team is like the focus for him. The business, the success, it all comes out of that. So just to affirm, he's not just saying it, that's how he runs things. And that's why I love coming to work. That's why most of us, we really enjoy coming into the office every day. Drew has really protected that and done what it takes, made some hard decisions to protect that. So that's all I would add.
I'll give you $20 later, thanks. I said it earlier on, I'll say it often, guys, what makes it work is the people. And I totally mean I couldn't do it without the team that we have. And it wouldn't be fun if it wasn't them. So, keep.
Awesome stuff. Okay, we'll close up at the end of every one of these. We always ask who's presenting, what's one thing the community, all of us can do to be a game changer for you.
Yeah. So as we grow, the biggest thing is we just need to do a better job of telling our story. So please follow us on social media. Both of the. There we go. Actually, let me go back to the end. There we go. So the Spurgers is me, and Kangabloo is the company. That's for Facebook and Instagram. And so follow us, keep in touch. I love talking to students and people that want to be entrepreneurs and things like that. So please do not ever hesitate to send me a message. I would love to talk to you. And then share the word. If you know anyone that needs something that we do, please feel free to send them our way or to open to social media and let them see what we do.
All right, well, Drew, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. It speaks volumes to who you are, so thank you very much. And then one last thing, everything was kind of busy before, so we can sign people in. If you don't mind, I have a sign-in sheet. If you RSVP, you don't have to, but if you didn't RSVP, you can come and sign in. I'll have it over in this desk, and that'll be awesome. Other than that, thank you all for coming. Say hi to Drew, thank you for coming, and check out other events on our website. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.